Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 140 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Okay, this week, well, quite honestly, there's just been a lot going on, so we're just going to talk about shaves of the day. Got Thursday's shave of the day, and then I started off, it's interesting, I started off with testing out or retrying, I guess, a soap that I had tested as a sample, and got the full Monty, went ahead and bought a puck of the thing, and, a container of it, and that would be Dr. John's Savannah Sunrise, and so I kind of reconnected with an old favorite there. And that's how I started the week. Now, when I started that little adventure, I started it with a gem featherweight, a single-edged blade. It was something that I had wanted to kind of change pace a little bit. But then, as the week rolled on, well, I really changed pace. And that's really the story this week anyhow, is not so much my observations or rants or anything else. It was more what I was able to achieve this week because, well, I tried. And because I tried, I succeeded. And I was beyond ecstatic in that, exceeding because, well, I hadn't really expected it. And sometimes Sometimes success does, in fact, sneak up on you just a little bit, and in this case, it did. So, we're going to start off with Thursday's shave of the day, just doing a gem featherweight, and, just kind of standard fare, single-edged, stuff. Then we get into Sunday and Monday, and all of a sudden, we're going to be doing something, well, different. Something that, quite honestly, I had kind of told myself I wasn't going to do again. Well, there's a lesson there, and that is try. So right after that, I throw in a little bit about, well, trying. And keep trying. And if it's hard, keep trying. Because then Thursday and Wednesday, I've gone out and done something that, quite honestly, I never expected I would do. And, good stuff. Anyhow, a little bit of a shorter show this week, but quite honestly, I've had people basically traveling, all over this country and all over the world, as a matter of fact, family members. And I've just been busy getting people back and forth to airports and picking them up and doing all that stuff and work. And it's been a little chaotic. And again, the big thing this week for me anyhow is what I was able to achieve because I tried. Anyhow, let's get on with this show. Beautiful day. Fresh batteries in the mobile studio. We're ready to go. Let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so the shave of the day, grabbed another soap that I had tried a sample of and really, really enjoyed. And that soap was Dr. John's Savannah Sunrise. So, went ahead, soaked up the 830 Samog Boar Brush, and proceeded to get ready for a shave. Lathered up, loaded the brush. Now, I did not bloom the soap. Brand new soap, fresh out of the can. When I first smelled it, the smell, the honeysuckle and jasmine and everything else, smell that I enjoy about Dr. John's was, well, rather muted. It was there, but it was, well, mild, muted, not really, in your face type thing. So, soaked the brush, knocked off the majority of the water to load the brush, and proceeded to load. And because I knocked off the majority of the water, and because I didn't bloom the soap, I didn't get just a really, really great load. I got a good load, but not a great load. It turned out I had just enough soap for for 3 passes and a touch-up with basically the remnants of soap left in the bowl. So, not bad, just not what I'm used to, because Dr. John's usually gives me an absolutely luxurious lather. thick and rich, and I'm not saying this wasn't thick as well, it just wasn't as much. So, it was more a quantity rather than a quality thing, and it was definitely by my hand. I did it. I'm the one that caused this issue. Had nothing to do with the soap. Anyhow, so lathered up and proceeded to apply lather to face, and there it was, the absolutely gorgeous honeysuckle and jasmine and floral fragrances, just boom, right in your face. Yeah, way better than the original sniff off the can. So, it goes to show you that if you take an initial whiff, sometimes that's not all there is. Sometimes that's not the complete story. Now, the razor today, since I had been, last week, I'd been using a double-edged blade, in fact, a treat double-edged blade. I wanted to do something different, and so I went ahead and threw in a carbon steel blade into my PAL featherweight, or my gem featherweight, not my PAL featherweight. PAL never made a featherweight. Dummy. Anyhow, my gem featherweight. And proceeded to have a very, very nice shave. The shave was BBS everywhere except where, I usually have difficulties, like, well, in my neck area. Just because quite honestly, I say I have difficulties. I don't go to a lot of trouble. I mean, I don't stretch skin and do all this other stuff. I just kind of rock on and go with it. I mean, trust me, I don't have people routinely coming up and feeling my neck. So it's okay. Anyhow, at least not in the morning. How about that? So anyhow, good shave of the day. Matched it up with some Jaloux aftershave, some Veiled Flowers aftershave. I think it's a good combination. It seems to, carries on the floral scent, if nothing else, and I do enjoy that. So looking forward to a week with Dr. John's, just to get, well, a better idea of what it's all about versus, well, just the sample. The sample's nice and all, but when you have a full tin of this stuff, well, that just does have a bit of a difference there. You get a better load, you get better, I don't know, maybe not consistency, but you get a better idea of what the soap actually is. Now, one thing that was interesting is that when I took the lid off the soap, it looked like a lunar landscape, bumps and ridges and just, yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not a soap maker. I don't know how they, I don't know the consistency of this stuff or how they pour it in the tins or whatever, I couldn't tell you hot process from cold process. I don't know, I just shave with the stuff. And, but it is interesting to see the differences in soap makers and in the differences in the way that the soap visually looks once you, flip open the lid. So anyhow, just some observations this morning from today's Shave of the Day. Let's talk about the Shave of the Day. The Shave of the Day today was a little bit different. I did something that, well, I hadn't done in a while, and for good reason. I used a Shavette. Now, the Shavette that I used was an old Schick stainless steel Shavette, specifically designed to use their injector blades. And nice Shavette. I mean, just beautiful to look at, feels good in the hand. Although, I'll talk about that in a minute. Anyhow, the reason that I have not been, well, prone to using Shavettes is because they have a tendency to cut the tar out of me. Every time I turn around, move, think, breathe, whatever, the Shavette in the past has been slicing and dicing and making julienne fries with my face. However, I decided that I would go ahead and give it a shot one more time. Now, for those of you that think, oh my gosh, you're crazy. Yeah, well, just a little bit. So I grabbed my fine synthetic brush and proceeded to face lather with my fine synthetic with Dr. John's Savannah Sunrise. Beautiful smelling soap, great performer. Anyhow, the thing that was interesting is that I didn't want to make a huge mess. I wanted to try something. I didn't want to make a huge mess in the soap. Usually when I lather my soaps, even with a large tin, the soap kind of goes everywhere, spills over the side. Now, I usually do it over a salsa bowl. And in doing it over the salsa bowl, all the stuff that would normally flow over to the sides and make a mess falls into the bowl because I got it kind of held over it sideways and kind of directing all that, stuff into the bowl. And then I use that to bowl lather and off I go. So I went ahead and, put a little bit of water on the brush there and proceeded to load the brush and proceeded to face lather. The thing that was interesting about face lathering is that the brush basically didn't splay at all. It just was like a floppy fish, kind of smearing stuff around. I thought to myself, this is a bit unusual. This is not reminiscent of the brush that I know. Okay, well, it's obviously a water content issue. Toss a little bit more water in, face lather a little bit more. It's still kind of floppy, but it's starting to want to try to splay in just a few areas. Okay, a little bit more water, a little bit more face lathering, and voila, there we go. The brush is splaying nicely, and yeah. Okay, so if you're having an issue with a brush that doesn't want to splay or distribute soap or create a nice lather or whatever, again, it may be water content. Our soaps are designed to have a good bit of water in them. I usually, when I bowl lather, put in 2 teaspoons of water, and when you think about it, that's not insignificant. So, anyhow, just thought that was unusual, and I figured I'd comment on it. So then, once I had the lather going, I went ahead, and I was originally going to go for just a single pass with the Shavette, just to, again, I'm walking into this with, just a bit of trepidation. So, single pass with the Shavette, and all is good. However, the one thing that I noticed, when you're using a straight razor, you have to be concerned about the angle of attack of the straight razor. You're usually looking for somewhere in the 17 to 22 degrees or thereabouts range. A little bit closer to 17 if at all possible, range of angle of the blade to face. The thing that's interesting that I've discovered with the Shavette is that not only do you have to be cognizant of that angle, but you also have to be cognizant of, for lack of a better word, the rake of the Shavette against your face, because if you have too much rake towards your fist, the edge of the blade that is towards your fist will cut you. If you have too much rake in the other way, the edge that is nearer to the point of the Shavette will cut you. So there's actually 2 angles that you need to be cognizant of, and that, you're not, especially when you're starting out, you're not very aware of. Okay? Now, the other interesting thing is that I could do this more or less by feel, but it had to be a very gentle touch. No pressure whatsoever. An exceedingly gentle touch. Single pass coming down, maintaining the angle, and feeling the application of the blade to the skin to determine and understand and then adjust the rake of the razor. Yeah, interesting. And I was able to do a single pass shave with just one nick. And the nick, in fact, was in a hollow part of my neck where it's difficult for me to get no matter what, except with a safety razor, just because the angle doesn't really allow access. No matter no matter how I turn my neck, I can't get in there. So after that first pass, I went, that wasn't too bad. I wonder if I can do a second pass. So I went ahead and did a second pass and proceeded to have no issues or problems at all, other than the consistent reminder to use absolutely no pressure whatsoever and to feel, if you will, the rake of the razor on my skin. So, interesting situation. I then got brave and actually went for a third pass and made it through a third pass. And I posted a picture on Instagram after that saying, have I in fact conquered the Shavette? Interesting. So with all that said, went ahead and finished up. Put on an aftershave. It is a generic aftershave that I bought at the dollar store. It's supposed to smell like Old Spice. It sort of kind of does, but not for very long. But the main attribute of this stuff is that there's a good bit of alcohol in it. And I just wanted to see what kind of razor burn and everything else. And yes, there was some. Even with an absolute no pressure, pass, there was a good bit, if you will, of razor burn. Now, the thing is that it wasn't long-lasting razor burn, so it's not like really, really severe, but it was evenly spread, I guess is the way that I want to say it, across just about everywhere. And so applied that, and of course, the only part that I really couldn't get with the Shavette is right underneath my, in between my Adam's apple and my chin. It's just because it kind of goes inwards, if you will. So that's the only place that I can't really get. But I have a hard time getting that under normal circumstances as well. So all in all, I would say that the shave was very, very good. And the most amazing thing is that I have, I think, conquered the Shavette. We'll see. Beautiful Monday morning. Let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day was another go with the Shavette. Yeah, I'm a bit of a masochist. But that's okay, because, it's one of those situations where if you don't try, you don't learn. And if you don't learn, well, you might as well just lay over and die. So, went ahead and did essentially the same shave as yesterday, with the exception this time is I used my Samog 830 brush and face lathered again. Didn't have the same issues with water content because, of course, the bore brush maintains and holds water much more easily than a synthetic. In fact, it holds water, period, and a synthetic does not. So, you give a synthetic a good, fling, and most of the water is out of it. So, went ahead and face lathered, 3-pass shave one more time with I take that back. A 2-pass shave this go around. Because I shaved late in the day yesterday, this shave of the day, I only really needed 2 passes. So went cross grain and then against the grain. 2-pass shave. Survived. No nicks, no cuts. Holy cow, what's going on here? One thing that I noticed about my Shavette, and it may cause me to go and try other Shavettes. One thing that I noticed is that my Shavette, the 2 pieces of metal that hold the injector blade in the razor, they are a bit loose. I'm going to have to take a pair of pliers and kind of pinch those up a bit to get just a little bit more holding power on them, because there were certain times when the injector blade actually slid out of the Shavette. Now, I like my Shavette to maintain the blade all the way up all the way up to the end of the Shavette. It just gives me more control, and I know where the cutting blade actually is. It just feels more natural. And so anyhow, having the blade kind of slide out from time to time is not ideal. Now, I must admit, when I first got the Shavette, it had 2 blades jammed in it, which leads me to believe that at some point in time, somebody either made the mistake and put 2 blades in it and spread those pieces out to the point where it wouldn't hold well anymore, and then from then on just use 2 blades, or put 2 blades in it and just left it and kind of sprung everything out. So we'll see. We will try to adjust those back to where they need to be, kind of pinch them closed a little bit to give a little bit more holding power. However, the keys, the key points that I learned yesterday were, not only do you have to worry about the angle of a straight blade, but also the rake, if you will. At least that's what I've been calling it. You have to worry about the rake of the Shavette as well, so that the edges, the ends of the blade don't tear you up. That has been, an issue. So I did not have any problems this morning either. 2-pass shave, cross grain, and then with the grain, or against the grain rather. 2-pass shave, cross grain, and then against the grain. And did not have, no issues, no cuts, no nicks, no nothing like that. So all in all, not too shabby. Socially acceptable in the neck area. Again, I didn't put a lot of attention to it. But quite honestly, pretty close to BBS in the upper facial areas. And all in all, works. So I went down, and this time I used a similar aftershave as yesterday, although it was made by Avon, Old Spice, and or Spicy rather. Smells like Old Spice, and a little bit of, again, an alcohol-based again, an alcohol-based aftershave, and yes, there was some burn associated with it. So it's either the blade or something that is causing a bit of razor burn, and so not terribly ideal, but there you go. It's part of the learning process, and I think I've learned. Yes, it's been a weekend of, trying. Yeah, like I've said before, if you're not trying, you're not learning. And if you're not learning, you may as well just curl up in a ball and call it a day. Go sit in a recliner and just wait for death to come knocking on your door. At least that's my philosophy with life. I'm not going to, and I may kick back and relax for a while, but most of the rest of the time I'm pretty well engaged with everything. Try to be very active. Try to be into a lot of things. And part of being into a lot of things is learning, and learning continuously and growing and changing. And quite honestly, sometimes that growth, that learning, that trying is uncomfortable. Yeah, kind of like working with a Shavette. You think you got it and it tears you up, and you put it down for a while and you go, okay, so there it sits, mocking me because it will not agree that I am intelligent enough to understand how to utilize this instrument of, shaving. And then you go and pick it up again, and eventually you learn. But there is some stumble across, along the way. It's like, I've always said there's nothing that you've ever done successfully the first time you tried it. And especially as you become an adult, you get more and more used to that. And so if it doesn't go well, you just put it down and say, okay, I don't want to do this. Now, the good news is that children don't have that same attitude. And it's also curious that I actually have seen a television commercial that is essentially the same message. Interesting. I'm glad they've picked up on that idea. Anyhow, I was very, very proud of my younger son. He actually went and tried something, and figured out how to do it, went and tried it, and it was hard. He even, when asked about his adventure, asked him, how did it go? And he said, it was hell. Okay. You gonna keep doing it? Yeah. All right. So, it's good to see, at least in him, that yes, difficulty is understood, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you quit. It doesn't mean that you stop. If you have an idea that this is what you want to do, you go and you do, and you learn in the process, and you grow in the process. And that's what life is. That's what life is about. So I was very, very happy and proud of the fact that he went out and did. He went out and tried. And if you have the opportunity to encourage anybody to go out and do and go out and try in whatever avenue or area or arena that it is, provide that encouragement. Let them know that, yeah, even if you try and fail, that's okay. Because the trying itself is the point of growth. Well, I'm pretty happy this morning. This morning I accomplished something I really never thought was going to be possible. I actually shaved with a Shavette, not my Schick Shavette, with the Schick injector blade, but in fact, a Shavette that holds half of a standard DE blade. Now, this go around, I went ahead and put in a Falcon, a Treat Falcon, and I actually, now this is going to sound amazing. It's amazing when I think about it. I actually found it easier to shave with that thing than I do with my Schick Shavette. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now again, the Schick Shavette is kind of a, well, for lack of a better word, training ground for understanding that it's not just the angle with a Shavette, but it is also what I'm calling the rake, the fore and aft pitch of the blade against your skin, whether you're heeling it or towing it. And I can feel that heel and toe action very predominantly with the Schick. And so after using that for a couple of days and very much getting a feel for, how I'm holding things and ensuring that my positioning is correct, going over to the little Shavette, we'll call it, just because the blade surface seems a little bit smaller. Going over to that was actually a relatively easy proposition. Very, very surprising. I had one nick. That was it. One nick. And I don't know what that was. It didn't last long. It was just like, okay, it's here, it's gone. And the other thing that's interesting is that I had not changed out the blade in the Schick injector, and I was getting some razor burn with it. And with the Treat blade in the Shavette, I did not get any razor burn. So I had actually dug through my stuff and got a new injector blade, and I was going to put a new injector blade in the Schick, and then I saw that the old Shavette that I had bought way back when for $12, $14, something like that, back in the day. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to try it. I was feeling bold. And this time around, yeah. Okay, so use the police on brush. Wanted to try it out compared to the fine brush, and what I found out was that it did a very, very nice job. The difference being that I went ahead and had a little extra water in it without knowing it. I didn't shake it out quite as well, I guess. And so that was interesting. And so it actually gave a very, very nice lather, a very, very nice shave, no issues or problems or anything. And again, a tad, well, unexpected. So all was good, and went ahead and lathered up with the John's Savannah Sunrise. Anyhow, went ahead and lathered up and really, really enjoyed it. Good shave, actually. I mean, it was just like, man, it was such a surprise. I was sitting there going, I was looking at my straight razors going, okay, it used to be that I would walk out of the house after a straight razor shave and go, what do you got? I shaved with a straight razor this morning. You ain't got nothing on that. Well, I may have to change that, because now I'm walking out of the house going, I shaved with a Shavette without hacking my face off. What you got? Because it ain't nothing compared to that. That's how much of a, I don't know, leap forward in my head this is. I really never thought this day would come. I always thought that I would be cursed to struggle and fight with Shavettes forever. And, yeah. So today is, well, in fact, this last couple of days has been the conquering. The conquering. And I'm so impressed with that word. The conquering of the Shavette. Now, the thing that I can also say is that it does test your limits, in that you have to be so very gentle. Absolutely no pressure whatsoever. I mean, you want to teach yourself to do a no pressure shave. A Shavette is not a bad way to go. But yeah, it is not, if anybody's out there and thinking, ooh, yeah, I want to get into straight razor shaving and wants to jump straight into the Shavette, don't do it. Do not do it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as easily, especially if you're first starting out trying to use a Shavette, because, you don't have the, you don't have it in your muscle memory, really. I think that's where it resides, to make sure that the rake of this thing, the heel and toe, if you will, isn't slicing and dicing your face in little shreds. Whereas with a straight razor, because the blade is so long, you have much less preponderance to have that effect. And it's not the blade itself, don't misunderstand. It's not the blade, the main cutting edge along the blade. It's the edges of the blade, the corners, the tips. That's what gets you. And at least that's what got me on every other occasion back in the day, when I believe I mentioned on numerous occasions that, in my estimation, the Shavette was the ex-wife's lawyer just wanting to get absolutely every drop of blood out of you. That was my experience previously. So, as you can imagine, it was not good. So, if you are thinking about trying a Shavette, yeah, you may want to hold off. Or, I have not tried one, but the Shavettes that hold the longer single-edged blades, the blades that go in like the Mongoose and the Cobra and those guys, those long ones, I understand that those work a little bit better as well. And it stands to reason, because the width of the blade actually offers you a little bit of protection from the corners. So it's a tad counterintuitive. If I was to lay out the straight razor shaving journey that I've been on, that I've had success on, the first go would be any straight razor with rounded tip. That is, probably, just from a design standpoint, the most comfortable shave. Follow that by a square point on a straight razor, just to get the feel of it, really. And it will, that point, that corner will snag you, multiple occasions. I mean, it just does. Just kind of I don't know. It's kind of like paying your dues, entry to a club, whatever, you know. It's just at least that's the way I look at it. Then, you know, you once you get to the point where you're not afraid of tips and things, and you know how to handle it, and you know how to be careful with it, then the next step up would be, at least for me, it has been the Shavette. So, yeah. Interesting day. What a morning. Holy cow. Now, just out of curiosity, when you walk out of the house and have a success like that, I mean, you know, whether it's the first time you've ever shaved with a double-edged razor, the first time you've ever shaved with a single-edged razor, first time you've ever shaved with a straight razor, first time you've ever effectively made a lather, and gotten a good shave with it, regardless of what razor you're using. Okay, when you walk out of the house with a success under your belt like that for the day, how can anything else really have a whole lot of impact? I mean, you really, you know, when you walk out of the house with that situation in hand, you know, most of the ordinary, everyday, common occurrences that, you know, when you're stressed out drive you crazy, you just kind of look at and laugh. They're insignificant. They're nothing. And that, to me, is the big, I don't know, attitudinal adjustment, if you will, that wet shaving gives me. And that's one of the reasons that I really, really enjoy it. It's like, yeah, you got struggles, you got stress, you got all that stuff. But when you walk out of the house after doing something that you've been wanting to do and trying to do, and you're finally successful, and you feel good and you smell good, and it's just, yeah, everything is right. The insignificant stuff that happens throughout the day is, well, even less than insignificant. It is so beyond your even recognition that it just makes the day beautiful and wonderful, and you have the ability to go through the day going, okay, this is what a day is supposed to be like. This is what I enjoy, well, about life. Beautiful day this morning. Rained a little bit last night, just a little bit. There's some moisture on the cars. Luckily, it looks good because I just washed the vehicles. So it has a nice beading effect on the cars, and I enjoy that. It's better by far than looking at a car that has not been washed for a long, long time and is smeared with grime and stuff, and just, you know, the water, instead of beading, sheets. It's just one of those things. Every now and then, you know, just the sheer joy of being outside and washing and waxing a car. Yeah, okay, I'm a little demented, but hey, you know, if you can't find joy in something in life, yeah, go back to bed. Anyhow, so today was, obviously, I am in an excellent mood, and there is a reason for it. And that reason is, well, I took the Shavette up another notch here. I actually achieved BBS with a Shavette. Are you kidding me? I never thought that was possible. Holy cow. You know, at one point at the beginning of this little expedition, I thought it was going to be just a good thing to get through a single pass without hacking my face up. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe 2 passes with just a couple of nicks and scrapes, and no way was 3 passes possible. And then finally, okay, I made it through 3 passes with just one little spot of irritation, and okay, that's as good as I'm going to get. And then all of a sudden, holy cow, now we have a good shave, and now we've got, step one further. It's like, holy cow, we now have BBS, capabilities with a Shavette. And are you kidding me? If you asked me at the beginning of the week, or at the, for the beginning of my week, which would have been like Thursday, if you had told me Thursday that by the next podcast, you will have achieved a BBS shave with a Shavette, I would have laughed at you. I really would have. I would have just uproariously laughed in your face. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, just the impossibility of that concept was just, yeah. Anyhow, so the shave of the day. Dr. John Savannah Sunrise, and I went ahead and used my Badger brush, my Nathan Clark Badger brush, and proceeded to make a nice lather, face lather for the most part on this one, even though I did, I didn't. I say I face lathered. I kind of swirled it around in the bowl and then proceeded to do the majority of the lathering, face lathering. So it's kind of a combination of the two. It's one of those things where when I load up a brush, I hold the puck sideways over a salsa bowl so that all of the drippings and excess, I think they call them proto-lather. It's a technical term for slop. But anyhow, all that goes down into the salsa bowl, and then I can stir it around with the brush and either build a lather in the salsa bowl itself, or go ahead and face lather. And that's what I did this morning, is go ahead and face lather from there. And I'm still using the treat blade, half a treat blade. Okay, so a treat blade in normal circumstances costs about $0.25. Okay, just give or take. So I'm talking about something that costs less than 15 cents in a device that previously had, butchered me, and I've achieved a BBS shave? What? Yes. So it's a good morning. And again, like I said yesterday, I'm walking around going, what you got? I have shaved with a Shavette. This morning it's going to be like, I got BBS with a Shavette, dude. What you got? Holy cow. Yeah. So good shave. It was very nice. And I'm wondering if, okay, first off, the time that I have spent with straight razors, with longer blades, with longer edges, I think has had an impact, a positive impact on my ability to use a Shavette. The fact that I have a little bit more of the muscle memory and the understanding of position and angles and everything else, I think that has had a positive impact on my abilities. So again, like I said yesterday, you don't just go and say, well, I want to get into straight razor shaving and I'll start off with a Shavette. It's not going to be pretty. At least it wasn't for me. Oh, and yesterday I alluded to the fact that there was a situation with holding on to the Shavette, and I have found that. Okay, now typically a straight razor has some type of jimping or slots cut in the back side, or even the bottom side where your fingers are, and that gives you a much more secure grip on the razor. The Shavette does not. The other thing about the Shavette is that it's a little bit, thinner than some of my straight razors, which means that there is, I guess more of a leverage, because it is both thinner in profile, but the tang is thicker. So it's more of instead of a square cross section, it's more rectangular. So there is more of a, if you will, when you're holding it, kind of a moment arm to flip it perpendicular to your face. There's a desire and a tendency of the razor of the Shavette to do that. In addition, the Shavette that I have has slightly rounded edges, in the tang area, which does not help the situation. What you want is a good solid corner that you can get some grip on and get some leverage against. And with rounded corners, it has a desire, a tendency, a want to kind of flip perpendicular on the long side of that rectangle profile, if you will. And it just makes it a little bit harder to hold, quite honestly. Once you get the angle and everything, you're okay. But it's just, from time to time, I found that it has a desire, a need almost, to just flip sideways. Not what you want in a razor. But the other thing that I've found is that the smaller blade surface, okay, so if you look at a regular straight razor, you're looking at, 1.5 to 2 inches worth of blade surface. Whereas with a Shavette with a DE blade, you're looking at, 3/4 of an inch? That smaller blade surface gives it at least for me, a propensity to be a little bit easier to handle in certain areas. Specifically under the neck and things like that, so I can actually get a closer shave with those than I can with a normal straight razor, because on a normal straight razor, I am using the tip, if you will, the front edge of the blade, if you will, to get in those areas. And quite honestly, when you're holding it, 2 inches back, things get a little bit, I'm not going to say precarious, but they're not quite as accurate. They just can't be, because, it's like trying to balance a bottle of water on a 1 foot chunk of 2x4, and then trying to balance that same bottle of water on a 4 foot chunk of 2x4. In both cases, you're holding on to the end. It's a little bit easier on that shorter piece. That longer piece, you're just naturally fighting the length of the thing. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Anyhow, so finished off with some fine aftershave, l'orange noir, some black orange. Love the smell of stuff. Anyhow, good stuff, good shave, good day. What's left? Holy cow! Yeah, how do you go through a day when to a certain extent, when you think, at least in your head, you've reached the pinnacle by, before you even gotten to work. It's like, yeah, this is the best, this is, okay, it's all downhill from here. I can't take that attitude. It's all uphill. It's all great. It's all good stuff. The rest is just gravy. Although I gotta admit, I told somebody this the other day. They said, well, how's your day going? I said, it's going great. They said, really? I said, yeah. If it's not, that's my fault. And they said, how can you be so positive all the time? I said, well, when you didn't think you'd make it to 30, this is all gravy. Yep, that's right. Okay. Well, anyhow, we are off to work down the road. And the other nice thing is there's not much traffic on the road. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, I like that. Although, of course, the traffic that is here, some of the people are, kind of silly, like this guy that's hitting his brakes for no reason. Wonder why that is. And he's also got a brake light out. Oh, well. He's probably signaling with that one and wanting to turn in that direction, and nobody can see it because the bulb is burnt out. Ha! Sometimes it does make you wonder how we survive. It's amazing that, when you think about it, just the flow of traffic back and forth. You realize that even under the best circumstances, for us to get from one place to another, we have to be, as a society, rather polite. Because there are constant, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but they're doing it within a set parameter of rules, but at the same time, they're obeying those rules and not falling too far outside of that understanding, if you will. And it is just amazing, if you think about what could happen if everybody truly, in fact, just disobeyed the rules and did their own thing, and reacted emotionally to everything and, or overreacted as the case may be. We are, in fact, a rather polite society. Yep. It's a good day. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.